Hi, welcome to NDE TV. I'm Peggy Robinson. Today's guest is Teresa Redington-Gibens. Did I say it right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And we want to hear about your near-death experience, Teresa.
Well, thank you for having me. I think informing people about these events is a great comfort to them, as it was to me. In 1990, I had my experience, and as we had just kind of mentioned, I didn't talk about it for nearly 20 years. Even my husband didn't know about it. Being in a medical family, talking about an event like this certainly made me feel like it went into the category of mental illness.
What do you mean by coming from a medical family?
I come from nurses and doctors and that sort of thing. And so medicine has a hard time explaining this type of event, and typically checks it off on the box of let's get you some psychiatric help. It's just not possible physically what happens to a lot of us. So I think that's part of it.
Okay. So 1990.
Yes, ma'am. I was being treated for a hormonal imbalance that I had, and was being given drugs to help adjust that. And in the process, I started having some heart problems, and it was kind of dismissed as a side effect that may fade. And just out of precaution, I was referred to a cardiologist, and he put a heart monitor on me just to record a couple of flutters I was having. So, of course, I did this. And one night in particular, when I had the heart monitor on, I woke up and felt horrible, like the flu, only multiplied. And I thought, wow, I forget what day it was, but I knew I had to be at work tomorrow. So I thought, well, I'm just going to get up, get something to drink, and just head back to bed, and everything will be fine. Everything wasn't fine. What occurred after I went back to bed and to sleep is recorded on a heart monitor. And I went into A-fib and ultimately flatlined. And I was alone in my apartment. I was single at this time. And what I saw cannot be explained in human terms. It's impossible. The first thing I saw was I was floating above my body and was looking down and saw myself laying there. And I was floating above and went through the roof of the building and up into the clouds and started going down a tunnel. It looked like it was circular, and it looked like it had black rocks. It was lined with black rocks. And I started going down this tunnel, and the faster I kept going towards the light at the end of the tunnel really frightened me. And I remember getting scared, and a voice said to me, "Don't be afraid." And I thought, what is going on? I did not realize what was going on. As I reached the light finally, I bared to the right. And when I came in to this beautiful setting of warm, yellowish type atmosphere, and the love that you feel, it's how I describe the amount of love you feel is when you go scuba diving. And if anybody's ever been a scuba diver, you know, when you go down about 1 atmosphere, you start feeling pressure against your body. And that's what I felt. It was so intense, the love. This person that was with me, I don't know who it was, and our feet did not touch the ground. I looked down and I noticed that. And yet we never had a conversation, but we knew what each other was saying. And this man took me to an area that looked like the best way to describe it. And like I say, it's impossible to describe what you see in human terms. This is so inadequate describing it, but it's the only way we have of saying what we saw. It looked like a huge tent, and it was open in the front, and I could see forever. And inside the tent were people seated on opposite sides of each other, talking to each other. Everybody was laughing and having a good time and discussing old times. And the interesting part about it was I recognized my grandmother. And there was a man that was seated next to her I did not know. And just as a comment, years later, a picture of my grandfather was found. And it was very strange because when I saw that picture, I recognized who it was immediately. And I thought that was so strange. And in the picture, he was in his army suit. And when I saw him, he was in his army suit. So I thought that was very interesting. But everybody was having a good time and talking at this table with the person across from them. And I looked out to the side and there was a table there. And this is something I can't understand. I don't know exactly what was going on, but there was an angel there with the man at the table. And the angel didn't have wings, but I knew it was an angel. When you're there, when I was there, you know everything. You have all the answers to every question you could ever imagine. And I said, what's going on over there, to my companion that was with me? And he said, we're trying to convince that man to stay here with us. And the only thing I could gather was this man was given a choice whether to stay or not, and they wanted him to stay. That's the only thing I could compare to what was going on.
Like maybe he just died too?
That's what I gathered, was that the man had just passed, and for some reason they wanted him to stay there.
Did
I
you
was
see all
not
these
told
people?
that, but
Did you see all these people real clear?
oh
Like
yeah,
I'm looking at you?
clear as I see somebody in front of me. Yeah, everything was very vivid and crisp. The colors were nothing like we see here. You know, in the background are some of the trees on my farm, and that green is so dull compared to what you actually see. Very vivid, very beautiful. It overtakes you. Your emotions are just overtaken. Everything is so beautiful.
And it's so strange because we don't have physical eyes there. We don't have physical ears. And it's so
Yeah,
strange. What are we using to see this?
right, to see it. And so the next thing that happened, I said to my companion, I want to see him. That was my exact statement. Instantly, there was a man standing next to me. And that love that you feel when you're there, just multiplied by 1,000,000 times. And I was looking down at the man's feet, and I started coming up towards his face. He had on like a cream colored robe. It was tied at the waist. But when I got to his face, all I could see was sunlight. It was as if you were looking at 1,000,000 suns, but it doesn't hurt to look. And I knew who it was. To me, it was Jesus Christ. I knew who he was. And he took me to a pond. He took me to a place that had a pond, and we sat down. And he said, pardon my dog there barking. Jesus said to me, Teresa, do you see how your actions are? And he showed me a pond, and a single drop of water fell into the pond, and it rippled out like we see. And he said, don't you see your actions are like that? You not only affect those closest to you, but it ripples out and affects many others. With that, I had a life review. And how mine happened, it was like a huge screen in front of me, like you would go to the movies. And I saw a person's face. When I saw the person's face, I felt their emotions based on how I had treated them on earth. If I had treated them with disgust, hate, love, joy, I felt that for just a second. And the pictures began going faster and faster and faster of everyone I had ever come in contact with. And I felt those emotions in a split second. And at the end of my review, Christ turned to me, he said, what did you learn? And I said, love was the best choice, wasn't it? And he said, yes. So then he looked at me, he said, Teresa, I want you to remember these 3 things. And I remember thinking to myself, how am I going to remember these things Christ is going to say to me? Because I knew when I came back, I would not have all the answers that I had there. I just knew it. He said, these you will be able to remember. He said, have more love. Number 2, don't be afraid of what you've left behind. And number 3 was enjoy life. And with that, I was back. And the heart monitor, as we found out later, the heartbeat started up again, and I was back for 4 hours. The heart monitor registered I had no heartbeat.
And this was at your home?
I was in my apartment at the time, yes. And
How long did
was
it feel like you were there?
about 2 minutes.
It seemed like you were only there 2 minutes, but the heart monitor showed you were offline 4 hours.
4 hours, that's correct. And the thing about it, time doesn't matter there. There are people that have gone on, they're not impatient, and they're not measuring time. It's hard to explain, but if you didn't have a care in the world, that's kind of how it was. And it was just incredible. And The message I also want to tell people, for those who have lost loved ones, it doesn't hurt to die. It hurts to live. That's why when death comes to us, we run to it, so to say, because dying is the release of pain. And there's nothing to fear about dying. It's an incredible process. And a lot of people talk about it's changed their lives. They've done a lot of things much better. I have too. I have changed. I've made mistakes since my experience. Oh, yes, most definitely. But it changed my life. And it was an incredible experience. You can't describe exactly how it was. It's impossible. Impossible.
We were just talking a while ago how God gives these experiences to ordinary people.
Oh, yes, I agree. I'm an ordinary person. I'm a nobody. And why I was given this gift, why I was given those 3 things to live by, I don't know. I don't know why he picked me, but I am thankful for it. And I hope people will come forward if they indeed have had an experience and talk about it. Talk about it to the right people. Don't waste your time with people who don't understand and want to call you crazy, because you're not.
Right.
You're definitely not crazy.
Right. You were given a gift.
Oh, very much so. Very much so.
So did you tell anybody? Like, how was it?
I did years later. I didn't even know what a near-death experience was. And by accident, one night, my husband was watching TV and I was playing on the computer. I can't remember how I came across it, but something I read about a group in St. Louis, and they called themselves near-death experiencers. And I thought, what is this? So I clicked on it, and the more I read, I just started bawling. I started crying. And I said, here is someone who has experienced the same thing I have. How can this be?
I got chills all over when you said that.
It's
That feeling.
It just was such a release of weight. And of course, I immediately contacted the group, and they meet once a year. And Linda Jacqueline heads it up, and Dave Bennett. There's tons of people that work on that group. And so I asked my husband, I said, look, these people are meeting in 3 months. Can I go? And he said, why would you want to go to that? And I told him the story. And he said, honey, you have to go. So I was so happy when they accepted me, and I drove from Tennessee on my motorcycle all the way up to St. Louis. And there I met the group and changed my life. You know, it's great to have company. It was just wonderful, just wonderful.
Well, I'm glad you were accepted and they were open
Yes.
to you. And
Oh, very much so. It was so interesting. I'll never forget meeting Linda. I simply, we hold the meetings at a monastery. The sisters are very open and supportive. And I walked into the group, and everybody was in the cafeteria, and I walked in, and here this bright, spry young lady comes running up to me and says, Teresa, we are so glad you're here. And come to find out, that was Linda. I have no idea how she knew who I was. But it's just interesting how we learned about each other's gifts. And a lot of people brought gifts back with them also from their experience they didn't have before. And it was so great to learn about it. And they're a wonderful group. I highly encourage you to get involved with a group, people who watch this, and you need that support. So, and it's a great education for you. Yeah.
Did you feel you come back with gifts?
Yes, most definitely. I came back with a gift of, it's not, I guess to explain it is an intuitive reading ability. I had never had that before. And it was so strange to understand it, to learn about it in St. Louis, to watch other people and their gifts. And I just started experimenting more and more and more and developed it more. And I was so thankful when IANS, the International Association for Near-Death Experience Studies, allowed me to practice my gift there at the World Conference, the first time in Durham, North Carolina. And it was so great to be able to read someone and then have them come back and find out, hey, what you told me is exactly what happened. So I'm not a palm reader. I'm not a card reader. It is a gift from God. And I'm not a psychic, but when I practice my ability, it is a gift from God, most definitely.
I think once we've been in that realm where the communication's telepathic, that when we come back, we keep that. It just doesn't go away. It's in us. And we pick up on things that normally people don't pick up on.
I agree with you. Definitely for me, something had changed. And it was so strange how I could sometimes just look at someone and know. But the way it really works is I'll take someone's hand. A lot of people are very skeptical. It's funny to have people come in and they've got their arms crossed and they're looking at me out of the corner of their eye going, yeah, this is a bunch of malarkey. But it's so great when I can take someone's hand and literally pictures of their life, their past, their present, and their future present themselves to me. And come to find out, the experience that I came back with also gave me the gift of being able to read animals. Now, I can only read dogs and horses. That makes no sense to me. But I've had people ask me to read their cat or bring a picture, and it's like, I can't, I have to be in person. But it's just strange how it works, I can tell people, well, of course your dog's acting this way. Can't you tell it's, this or that, or it's just as plain as day to me. So I'm very blessed, very blessed. And a lot of people have healing abilities. I've seen many people come back with extraordinary gifts. And it's just wonderful to see. I don't know why I've been given this gift, but I try to use it with integrity. So it's a gift and I don't flip it around casually at all. I take it very seriously.
I grew up with a very religious grandmother, and poem reading or any kind of ESP, anything was witchcraft. It was bad. And so
Oh yeah.
I pushed anything I was noticing about myself away. That's not good.
Yes.
Pay any
And
attention to that.
yes, you and I both. I was raised in a very strict Wesleyan church, devout Christian. Anything that was not understood was demonic. And of course, like you say, palm reading, psychics, anything like that is demonic. And I can't answer for those people. I can only answer for myself. I claim to be a Christian. I have been most of my life. Like I said, I've made mistakes, but I do profess Christianity, and my gift is Christ-centered. There's no demonic work here on my part, not at all.
Right, right. And when I first went to Ian's group, and the leader was talking about some kind of spiritual expo she went to, so I looked up online and I was floored. I like, okay, you got NDEs, and then you got a booth there, and then UFOs and palm reading and like leprechauns or whatever, And I felt like they were putting NDEs in a circus tent. Like, why are you putting something so sacred, like should be in a church, with this, what I was raised to believe is witchcraft? And it's still kind of hard for me sometimes the way I see it presented. I go to an Ions conference and I'm thinking, oh, it's about NDEs. And then I see these other rooms and these other things. And have you felt welcome? I mean, and Ions as being a Christian, have you felt any push as into we don't want to hear God, Jesus, that kind of thing?
I have not necessarily come across that at Ions, but I don't walk in professing Christianity on my chest, so to say, with a billboard. I expect my religious views to be respected, and if I were not accepted, that's fine. I can go somewhere else. I mean, I don't have to have anybody's permission. Just to touch on what you were saying, listing NDEs under, devil worship, UFOs, and that sort of thing. I think you have to be very careful. Unfortunately, I have seen that. I don't know if having an experience and then coming back pushes people over the edge to where their mental stability needs to be questioned. Or were they like that before? Are they like that afterwards? I don't know, but I have come across groups and people that just, quite frankly, I'm going, I don't get it. I don't get you people. And it could be something that's above my understanding. And
Can you give an example?
yes, I can. I want to be careful how I word this. I have seen groups advertised either within near-death experience groups or advertising with them. Could be, we see people floating above the trees and the like, advertising that alongside NDEs. I have seen some I'm trying to think of the correct words here. I don't want to offend anybody, but some of this, I don't know where it's coming from. And possibly people think the same thing about me, but a lot of things that are advertised alongside NDEs, it frightens me, some of it. I do question legitimacy. I do question mental stability. I've had my own fight with depression, but some of the things that I see out there do frighten me. I don't like it because I think people like myself was drawn to an answer. What is this? What happened to me? What is it that's going on with me? And I don't like it when people fall into a category where they could be sucked into the wrong group. Like I say,
Vulnerable
you
people.
have to be, I beg your pardon.
Vulnerable people.
I agree. And I don't want them pulled into a group that could be confusing gifts with another realm. Like I said, I'm trying to be very careful here. There's a lot of studies going on and a lot of books, a lot of practice that I do question. Yes, I do. I can't help it. Can't help but question it.
I'm glad you do, because I question a lot myself.
Well, I think we're supposed to. We're human beings.
Right. And there's so much stuff going on today that is crossing the line in my book.
Oh, yeah. Every time you turn around, somebody's got a scam going or this going or that going. But I think good humans and good Christians need to question what is going on here. I'm not saying necessarily write stuff off, but use your mind God gave you.
Right.
Common sense goes a long way.
Right. Right. The first NDE Facebook group I was on, not long at all, I was on it, and there was a young man talking about his near-death experience, and a whole bunch of people was commenting and liking and supporting him because it was fresh, he was young. But the man, for whatever reason, maybe he was doing it to everybody, but he private messaged me talking about his NDE and then told me it was from a DMT trip and was trying to sell me DMT. And I notified the administrator and he did not care. And so I thought, oh, I don't want some vulnerable person, maybe they're in recovery, and then get at PM like that. And they, fall into this on a spiritual notion. And so I made a post on that and warned people, and people was like, oh, thank you for telling us. And we totally look at this experience differently now. We didn't know it was from drugs, and we didn't know. And I made a friend during that, and he was fully supporting me, and he was contacting administrator too and saying, this isn't right. In fact, it's illegal that people are trying to hustle drugs on this website. And all of a sudden, my post was taken down, and that kid was allowed to continue getting that attention from the people that didn't see my warning and continue on. And I'm like, it's all that matters is the likes, the views, the amount of members, and not right and wrong, because I didn't think that's what this was about. I thought NDE, and it still is to me, it always will be, it's to me it's Christian. Now, I understand I have friends with other religions and etc. I'm not saying that, but for me, it's trying to be a good person, and that means going by the law, and that means not having addictions and helping people out. And not lead them astray. And that wasn't the case. And that was just my
Right.
first eye-opening experience.
That's discouraging. I hate to hear that. I personally, my gift, I don't charge for. The only thing that I do is when you use your gift, like at IONS, they ask for a donation. If they choose you, there's a set amount and it goes back to the organization. And that's my personal way of handling it. Now, for instance, Dave Bennett. Dave Bennett is a wonderful man, a gifted book writer. He is an incredible author and sells his books, and I'm all for that. There are, of course, several names that we know in the business. Dr. Grayson, Kenneth Ring, there's a lot of people, and I don't have a problem with that at all. But when we cross the line, as you stated, that frightens me because people will buy into it. Salesmen are very good at what they do, and vulnerable people are more susceptible to being pulled into this. And like, again, you use your head. I want people to use the brain God gave them.
Mhm.
Check into things. Just because somebody was on, for instance, as an example, Dr. Phil, and talked about their NDE. Well, that doesn't mean if they're peddling something, you should buy into it. I think you should be very cautious. Support the people that deserve it.
Yeah.
Support these authors and studies that are legitimate. Support them in any way that you can, but also be careful. You know, there's a bad apple in every bushel, and it can ruin the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I had 2 IONS groups in Ohio. I started my own because there was none down in Southeast Ohio. And then I took over another group in Columbus, Ohio, when that lady resigned, and it was like the second longest running group. And I went through the training for ISGO and started my own ISGO group. And then it was discovered I'm pro-life. And Chuck Sweetrock was president of IONS at the time. And he told me I had a choice to make, pro-life or IONS.
Oh,
I
need to hear that.
I was already invited to go to Dave's group in Virginia, and I got uninvited. And
Well,
I
I
was
can
supposed to be at the
hear that.
conference again to speak. I was again supposed to be in that conference, and they hired an ethics committee, made one board member ethics committee to investigate me and my stance of being pro-life, because that means I hate women. So I just finally washed my hands of the whole thing, and I've been very vocal. You froze up. You're froze.
In my life, and I am pro-life. I'm sorry, but it's a gift from God. There are circumstances, I understand women argue about rape. In medicine, unfortunately, there are some fetus, the term for it is monster fetus, and they want to abort. I have never personally experienced that. I've never had an abortion. I'm not here to judge those who have. That's God's job. My job is to love people who have been through that. But if I'm asked my opinion, I am pro-life. I never aborted a child, and I, of course, in my late stage of life here, I'm not going to have another pregnancy, but it is sad. I
Well, I
we
thought,
went,
so Catholics aren't invited then. Catholics aren't allowed because Catholics are supposed to be pro-life. So,
okay,
and I was Catholic at the time. I don't haven't been to church in years, but you know, I still have
right,
the Catholic values, and
right,
and I have my own conscience, the values I choose to have. And so
yeah,
I thought, so anybody that's Catholic has had an NDE is not going to be included.
that's
Anybody that
sad.
has any pro-life issues, they don't care if it's the members. It's when you're in leadership. And I
Yeah,
had not mentioned it at any of my groups being pro-life. It never come up.
yeah,
But I talked about it vocal on my Facebook once I found
okay,
out that they were trying to push something called the pre-birth plan, using NDEs to educate people about the pre-birth plan that says children want aborted and reincarnated later. And that's what I took issue with. And that's all I took issue with. And that's when it hit the fan, because the person that was preaching it, educating people about it, took offense to me saying that's not right. And
yeah,
she wanted me out of the organization. She threatened to sue them if they didn't get rid of me. And it just went on. But I'm so glad now, hindsight, that that all happened, because I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you, you know, and because
yeah,
that that stuff's boring and people got to pay to watch that. Oh my
yeah.
gosh. I told them when the training, because we were the first training group to come out from it. And I said, you guys, this is boring. Who's going to want to watch this? It is painful.
Uh,
That was my
it,
feeling on it.
yeah.
Hindsight now, they're like, yeah, you're right. It is boring.
Well, unfortunately, everybody has their opinion about something, and we all view from our stance our opinion about their opinion. Okay, I think you're wrong, or I think you're right. And that's just normal human experience to do that. When it's sad, though, that it has to separate us, you know, um, it's sad. I think we're here to discuss near-death experiences. And if we're going to start cutting each other down for a personal opinion, no matter what it is, I may say, I don't like Yankees, or or I don't like Ford trucks, or something like that. I mean, if that comes to the point where it's dividing us, it's sad, because how can you have such a personal experience with an NDE, whether it be a positive experience or you're one of the people that viewed hell? You were given a gift. And if we're going to start cutting each other down, what are we doing coming together in the first place?
Yeah. I mean, I would travel and, you know, all day and pay for a hotel, my meals to go speak at a group. I mean, it's on our dime. And after, as soon as I was done talking, there's all these questions about abortion. I never
Yeah,
mentioned abortion once in my talk, but they were
yeah,
at me. And one was a unity church, and the lady said, you need to remember what church you're in right now. I said, I don't care what church I am. I'll always be pro-life. You think because I walk inside this church, suddenly I'm going to be a liberal? It doesn't work like that. They
yeah,
were
yeah,
determined they were going to change me. And I thought, whatever happened to freedom of religion?
exactly. Exactly. It's constitutional right. And the thing about it, uh, we need to remember, now this is my personal opinion. If you're standing across from me and you were to say, listen, I believe in abortion, it's the only way to do it, and on and on and on, I may respect your opinion, but I expect you to respect mine. somehow we've lost that. People at protests yelling at each other across a police barrier. And we think that screaming at somebody across that barrier automatically makes it okay. And we think, oh, we're going to sway them to the other side. You know, I feel like it's not so much trying to sway somebody as it is, I personally try to respect them. You've got your own opinions, and that's great. We're all different. My job is not to stand here and criticize you for what you've done or what somebody's going to do. My job is to love. If we want to talk about Christianity, Christ's main message in life was love. So let's respect each other. And that includes accepting people, whether it be in an NDE conference or in the church itself. You know, we may not appreciate a lifestyle that is lived differently than the typical man and wife marriage, but Christ also loved them. He loved everybody, those that were outcasts, the lepers, demonic. This day and age, we look at drug addicts, we look at a homosexual lifestyle, whatever the case, we need to accept them with love. And I may not agree with their lifestyle, but it's our job to love. That's my personal opinion.
And NDE radio, you know, there's Lee Trump bashing on his show. He introduced me the last time I was on there with a Trump bash and was using my sexual abuse as a child that's in my book as an example to bash Trump. And I'm like, I'm getting introduced and I'm so thrown off. And
yeah.
And then I heard Robert Mays, he's at the conference, has a stage to himself, you know, he's made him a major speaker, and it was all Trump bashing. And
yeah,
just was something better happened to him or else the whole world's going to fall down. And they are okay with that, but I can't be pro-life on my Facebook. Yeah. But I think a good example would help people understand if they're not understanding what we're talking about. If you watch Netflix, the Survive, what's that called? Series, Surviving Death.
Okay.
The first episode is wonderful. It's about these wonderful NDErs, well done. And at the very end, it turns demonic. And the rest of the episodes are nothing about NDEs. And I call it bait and switch. They're using NDEs to draw people into the dark forces or black magic.
Yes.
Because that stuff is really going on.
Yes, I mean, and I agree. I totally agree with you there. Most people are interested when they first hear about an NDE. It's very exciting to people. They want to read about it. They're going to watch a TV show about it, and they're going to make up their own minds for themselves. Those people are cracked or something really happened to them. And, you know, when you get sucked in with something that, quote, sells, they're going to tag on anything to it. And whether it be politics, abortion, lifestyles, whatever, it's going to get pulled in. And when you got a hot topic like NDE and people start reading about it, it's going to pull them in, and it is a bait and switch. Unfortunately, I think the world's like that all in all, whether, like I said, it be politics or abortion or whatever the current issue is for the day. So yes. Yeah.
And I know people just want to hear the wonderful story. They're curious of what death is like. They want to hear that everything is beautiful and wonderful. And they want, some of them want to put us on a pedestal, like, oh, you had an NDE.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you this picture. What do you see of my dead relative? What do you hear? I don't hear nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
But there's some
Yeah.
people send me $100 your credit card, and I'll tell you.
Oh, yeah. Well, and, you know, if they can do that and live like that, I mean, okay, you're going to have to answer for that. If there is indeed a punishment for it, but personally, I can't do that. That's just me. A lot of people that in groups that I've seen charge for healing and that sort of thing, and it's a lifestyle. And if they can do that, that's wonderful. I'm happy for them. But it's the people that start doing it like your example. Oh, but $100 and 120 will get you even better, you know.
And I know some of those people. I knew them well. I was friends with them and never said a word about being psychic or healing. All of a sudden, one day on their Facebook, I'm a healer. Call me. Here's my number and $100.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
just woke up and decided how to make some money.
Yeah. And now there are people who are legitimate. You know, there are people with gifts. They are making their livelihood this way, and I'm behind them 100%.
Right.
But it's the quacks. Like I said, the one bad apple. The one bad apple ruins it for all of us.
Yeah. So I just guess since we're talking about it, just kind of tell people, I'm just kind of telling people, like you said, be careful, have some common sense.
Exactly. Use your brain. Don't just jump at the first thing you see. There are a lot of people out there, a lot of things on the internet that scare me, and I'm just shaking my head going, oh, for crying out loud. You know, personally, no, we don't need to be put on pedestals. Not at all. I'm a common Joe from Indiana. Grew up in a very small Christian home. Made mistakes in my life more than I would hope to admit. But I'm just the common female, almost 60, widowed, live on a farm with a couple horses and a couple dogs. But I have a gift. I'd be glad to share it with people. I've got a story to tell, but I'm going to be careful. Don't jump at the first thing you say. Get on some sites that are reliable. Look at many stories. You'll soon be able to decipher, I hate to say it, some of the crackpots. Just, you know, from people who are legitimate. They're out there. They want to help. There's a lot of good information out there. There's a lot of bad information. And just remember what you're there for. Don't buy into some of this weird stuff. I highly caution you to be careful. Get in a legitimate group. Be polite. Be polite. Be kind. And above all, you come across somebody with a different opinion, okay, but you don't have to tear them apart. You know, we're here to love each other. And that's about all I need to say. I need to shut up now.
I meant to ask you and I kept forgetting. First of all, your tunnel. What did that, you saw the bricks like, but was it light, dark? Was there sound?
The rocks, they looked like rocks and they were black. And it was a tunnel. And at the end was the light. And because of the light, you could see some of the rocks almost glistened like they were wet. Not sparkle, but they looked like they were wet as I was going through. Yes.
Was there any sound there?
No, I heard nothing.
Okay.
I just knew I was traveling at a very high rate of speed. Yeah, and it scared me.
Yeah, I was scared. Mine was going straight up real fast, and it made a like a vibration. That's like the sound when a rocket takes off. You watch on TV, that pressure.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, did your doctor notice on your whatever that is, the 4 hours?
They totally ignored it and wrote it off.
Really?
They didn't believe it. They did not believe it. They put it up to mechanical error. I don't understand how a heart monitor can have a clinical error, show an A-fib, flat line, and then come back on. Doesn't work that way. I know what happened, and I don't care what anybody says. I know what happened. I know what I saw. I know what I experienced, and I'm not going to shut up about it. So
it took me a long time to get to that point.
Yes. You know, like I said at first, I never spoke about it for 20 years. I was afraid to. And now that I know about it, I know it does exist. I've had some good people validate me. I won't shut up about it. So as long as you got a 4-hour program, I'll keep going.
Do you feel as you get older, it's more meaningful or anything?
I do agree in that respect. There are times it wanes. The feeling. There are times that I move away from it, but then there's a wave where I come back. But yes, the older I get, the more profound the words Christ said to me. The Bible is a message from Christ. I understand that. But the words he spoke to me, it felt very personal. And I think the way that the world is going with all of these children killing each other, killing their parents, people, we had a sheriff here murdered last weekend. I live in a very small community.
Did you say sheriff?
Sheriff, he was shot and killed. And that's just unheard of in a small town like this. And shootings going on in Memphis, but all the stuff that's going on, the fighting in politics, we need that message more than ever. A message of love, the message that for some reason, Christ has given me the chance to see the other side and come back and tell you about it. And I guarantee you it's where you want to be. I know several of my fellow NDEers have had a negative experience. And I've gathered from that, that's not where you want to be. So listen to the Bible. It is true. I don't understand it all. I'm not one of those people intelligent enough to understand it all, but I'll tell you, this message Christ gave me, have more love. Boy, that is dead on, dead on. It's what we need. It's what the world needs. And I think some of us NDEers had a front row seat, and we're not lying. So
it was have more love, enjoy life more. What was the second one?
And it was don't be afraid of what you've left behind was the second one, and enjoy life was the third one.
What do you
And
think?
it's very, oh, I know exactly what it means. Of course, to have more love is pretty understanding, but I have tried to dissect it. have more love. Does that mean Christ is giving me more love? Does that mean have more love towards others? Does it mean, I'm a dissector. So, but the other part, don't be afraid of what you've left behind. I think that's more of a personal message for me in the respect of mistakes I've made in my past. No matter how small or how large, don't get weighed down by it. Don't live your whole life caged in an emotional trap that either myself personally or someone else has set for me. And to me, that one was a very personal thing to say to me. And enjoy life, I think is pretty self-explanatory. I need to enjoy life. I need to make sure that I enjoy every day. I've been at rock bottom, and I need to be reminded, hey, enjoy it. Enjoy it.
Yeah, no matter where you are, your circumstance, there's always a reason to find joy.
Well, I'll tell you, like I said, I've been at the bottom, and if you can simply get up out of bed every day, it's a gift. And you don't realize that kind of thing unless you've lost it.
Right.
People, have lost everything physically, mentally, financially, whatever. There is still a reason to be hopeful. Love doesn't cost you anything to give. And your circumstance behind your front door could be totally different. But carry on. Carry on. Make a difference in somebody's life. A smile. I've read that. A smile, as small and as insignificant as that, can make a difference in somebody's day. You could turn somebody from even doing something as serious as suicide that day, simply because somebody cared. Somebody.
Makes me think of, it was almost a school shooting, and a guy come to shoot up a school one time a few years ago. And the secretary, I wish your secretary should work there, got talking to him and said, I've been in them bad places, and this happened to me, and that happened, and I had this hard. And she just kept talking to him like a human being.
Yeah.
And he ended up crying and putting his weapon down and went out of there without anybody getting hurt.
That's just it. I don't think a lot of people realize what kind of a difference you can make for people. I myself personally, one of my bad times in life, and I know I am out of the norm for a near-death experiencer. I attempted suicide a few years back. I had lost my husband. I was deeply depressed. But you don't understand what a difference you can make for somebody by doing, just smiling. Talk to them like a human being. Respect them. Have some respect. And just live in integrity. And when your brother's down, try to pick him up. What's it going to hurt you?
Were you homesick when you did that? Were you wanting to go back where you were?
I beg your pardon. Say that again.
Were you homesick when you attempted suicide, wanting to go back where you were?
That is one of the reasons. I know a lot of people, I have heard voice that that's not true. I also know of the concept that when you've had a true near-death experience, that you would never do such a thing like that. The numbers show, the numbers show that a lot of people who have committed suicide are not near-death experiencers. but I guess I was out of the norm. I had lost my way. I was, like I said, deeply, seriously depressed. And the treatment I was receiving was unsuccessful. And the button was pushed on me emotionally one day, and that was it. So
I just did, my last video was a woman's that her NDE was from a suicide attempt.
yeah. And I have read several of those. And my near-death experience, of course, happened many years ago, and it's been about 8 years now since mine. And it's a dark place in my life. I'm not proud of it. I don't recommend it. Most definitely, because you think there is no hope and no way out. When you're that depressed, even an NDE can't help you.
Right.
And I did. I caused a lot of pain to my family. I've got a lot of unforgiveness from people towards me because of that.
Yeah.
My family, friends, my pastor, my church, my coworkers, I've heard a lot of people, and sometimes you don't get it back. You just don't get it back.
Right.
So, yeah.
But we get a second chance though when it didn't work.
God's given me more than a second chance.
Me too.
I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect. I've made a lot of mistakes. But that was my greatest mistake, and I won't repeat it. God truly has forgiven me. Forgiveness of myself definitely is harder, but I'm moving on. Yes, I'm enjoying life.
Well, it looks like you have a beautiful farm there.
Thank you. I'm very blessed. My husband and I bought this little farm in Tennessee. My husband, towards the end of his illness, wanted to be back towards the family. And so I'm a Yankee by way of Florida, by way of Tennessee. So yes, we have a beautiful farm here. And like I said, I've got horses and a couple dogs running around here. So
We
yes.
just started farming in the last year. My husband grew up on a farm, and I don't have that much property, but we got cows, we got sheep, pigs, goats, ducks, chickens, and turkeys.
That's a big responsibility.
And my husband
You're a lot younger. You're a lot younger than I am.
And we have 3 dogs and a cat.
Oh my goodness. Well, if you need the dogs or the horse, or well, you don't have horses. If you need the dogs, Red, you just let me know.
I want a horse and a buggy. I've always wanted, but I don't know anything about horses. So I'm gonna have to find out.
Expensive.
I've heard that.
Horses are expensive. You got to get their feet done about every 6 weeks, and horse feed, and they are a high maintenance animal if you want to keep it right. Yeah.
Maybe we'll get a donkey.
There you go. Get a donkey. Oh, shoot.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And good luck in your endeavors.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy life.
Thank you. I plan on it.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.